I'm now pleased to introduce our next officiating speaker, Dr. Christophe Bernasconi, the Secretary General of the Hague Conference on Private International Law. Himself a leading expert in private international law and international civil procedure, Dr. Bernasconi took office in 2013, may I say, was recently reconfirmed by the membership for a further term, after he joined the Permanent Bureau in 1997. He works tirelessly on focusing and furthering the initiatives of the Hague Conference and stirs it strategically. You may find his welcome message at page number 4 and his profile at page number 8 of the program. Welcome, Dr. Bernasconi.
Mr. Xie Feng, Commissioner of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China in the Hong Kong SAR, the Honorable Chief Justice Jeffrey Ma, Mrs. Teresa Cheng, Secretary for Justice of the Hong Kong SAR, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of the HCCH who heeded our call to gather here in Hong Kong, the Oriental Pearl, for this unique conference. A conference indeed which we designed not so much to look back at past achievements of the HCCH, but in particular to look ahead, to try to imagine and maybe understand what's coming our way and what it all means for private national law and the HCCH in the future. So let's try this. 6,501 weeks. Fast forward 6,501 weeks into the future. What's happening? It's bad news. It's a world without lawyers. On a positive note, accountants are gone too. Computerized judges, computerized justice, a world dominated by artificial intelligence. Beautiful, objective artificial intelligence soaring above messy, subjective human factors. AI is drafting laws. Hey, AI is drafting Hague Conventions. No more squabbling about what consensus means. AI is consensus. Daunting, I know. Maybe even a tad irritating, but impossible? Let's jump back 6,501 weeks, back to Tobias Assel, the founding father of the HCCH. It's September 1893, 125 years ago. He is sitting at his desk preparing his inaugural address for the first diplomatic session of the Hague Conference. The electric light, the electric telephone, the ballpoint pen, metal detectors, diesel engines, zippers, all these things, amazing things and much more had just been invented. Everything seems possible. It's euphoria. Assel sees these technological marvels and the related changes, and he plans his bold call. He sees it all: increased travel, mobility, connectivity, trade, opportunities. All this is transforming individuals, communities, societies. Nothing like this had ever happened in human history before. The law must keep up, he says. Private international law must keep up. To help people do new things, support new ideas of freedom. Within international borders, but especially across those borders. Assel sees that law helps the world manage tumultuous change. It gives trust. It provides certainty. Does Asso look ahead, forward 6,501 weeks to our world 125 years later? Does he imagine 2 world wars, the great European empires that defined his world, civilization itself as he saw it, gone? Asso can't imagine flying machines, jet engines or rockets, insect drones coming down our chimney controlled from thousands of kilometers away. And he certainly can't imagine millions of cat videos on YouTube. Or colleagues in Argentina, South Africa, or Saudi Arabia watching this conference for free on small handheld gadgets. His world, Asso's world, measures assets by some sort of gold standard. How to imagine distributed ledger technology, blockchains if you prefer, through which assets can be transferred instantaneously across borders, making extensive use of cryptography. Invisible assets, almost abstract. That's where we are now. How about 6,501 weeks from now? It's Back to the Future, the Hague Conference's 250th anniversary event in 2143. Will the law keep up? Change with times? Help people do new things in new ways within and across borders? What will borders actually mean? What will universality mean? Here on Earth? What about space? Why has the HCCH survived through its first 6,501 weeks of revolutionary changes in technology and global order? Cynics might say that the HCCH survives simply because it's too small to be noticed. The HCCH is cheap, absurdly cheap. A budget of 4.2 million euros a year, an accounting rounding error for global development programs, a trivial fraction of litigation costs in the world's main jurisdictions. It's more expensive to get rid of the HCCH than to keep it alive. But people who aren't cynics know that what we collectively as an organization do is more than useful. It's important. In fact, it's essential. Private international law is oil in the world's engine, smoothing things along. Family issues, business, e-business, innovation, privacy, big, tough issues with huge, immediate, complex cross-border implications for policy, for people, for businesses. So we do fulfill Asso's ideal. Trust and certainty are more precious than ever. So far, so good. But there are challenges ahead. For example, we talk universality, but we haven't kept up with the growth of new states. As this century gets into its stride, one thing is clear. In 6,501 weeks from now, a large proportion of the planet's young people will be in Africa. Their energy and ingenuity will need trust and certainty. We need to bring scores of African and Middle East nations into the HCCH framework in the coming decades. More regional offices would help, even if it's tough, complicated, budget and stuff, you know. Also, as the Hague Conference's reach gets bigger, does it otherwise not change much? Should it not look to complement reliability and steadiness with at least some degree of new flexibility? Asymmetric consensus, as I like to call it. Maybe not everybody needs to agree on or work on new legislative projects or do so at the same time. Making space for those who want to experiment, go further, and maybe change things faster. But how to make the case for smart, global unification while at the same time encouraging new initiatives that in fact create new diversity and different paces? It's not easy. Also, and maybe more importantly, Let's not make perfect the enemy of the sensible. Why not look for smaller, practical, common sense, easy wins and take it from there? Building blocks. To some extent, we have started to do that. We see it in ourselves, our homes, our jobs. Everything is speeding up, becoming lighter, more nimble. Back in his famous 1862 address on commercial law and commerce, Russell proposed an international convention. Yes, on mutual recognition and enforcement of foreign judgments. Next year, finally, his dream comes true. A mere 157 years later. Can't we do better than this? Can law itself stay credible if it creeps along at this pace? Like an elderly snail, with a bad leg, that is? I can't answer all these unsettling questions, but I do have an invitation. I invite you, use this gathering, play with ideas, think differently, think strategically, think boldly. I would like to see this free flow of ideas, as Commissioner Sen put it. Maybe 6,501 weeks from now, that would be April 2143, is just too far ahead to imagine. So let's focus instead on just 1,100 weeks from now. That's 20 years. 2038. Many of us will still be around, we hope. Will we look back on this event and say, yeah, Hong Kong, well, it was just another costly conference. Nothing really happened. No one cared. In fact, I hardly remember it. Or will we say, yes, Hong Kong 2018 was something. It made such a difference. It helped setting the HCCH on its new path that's doing so well. I'm so pleased, in fact, I was there to play my part in making new things happen. Colleagues, friends, things that seem impossible to us lawyers today will be commonplace to our children and grandchildren, whether we like it or not. What do we do about that change? Embrace it, encourage it, champion it, or stand in the way? Tobias Russell was wise and bold in 1893. We respect his memory best by being wise and bold ourselves. We look back with pride, respect the precedent of yesterday. We look forward with confidence, embrace the promise of tomorrow. Today, we end our first 6,501 weeks. Today, we start the next 6,501 weeks. The HCCH has grown from strength to strength. Let's make sure we get to the next level. Thank you.